Many fighters have gone on record to say that you need a mean streak to be a professional fighter, to be ready and willing to really hurt someone inside the cage to get the win. And with a mindset like that, it's no surprise that there have been many cases of professional fighters that have taken their skill set to not only hurt, but to inflict serious evil on others outside the cage. I'm Tom from MMA On Point, and this is 10 most evil MMA fighters. Number 10. Vyacheslav Datsik. Though Vyacheslav Datsik isn't a massive name in mixed martial arts, it's definitely one that you should be aware of, despite a 6-9 record. Datsik is best known for the huge overhand right that knocked out future UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovski in his MMA debut. What finds Datsik on this list though, was his involvement with the now banned Russian nationalist party Slavic Union. Once describing himself as a racist, Datsik was reportedly obsessed with anti-Semitic and anti-Christian views. And after a long stint in jail for armed robbery of various mobile phone stores, Datsik began vigilante raids on brothels, beating up women and forcing them to walk the streets of Russia naked, and all in the belief that he was the son of Slavic god Purin. Despite all this, Datsik still hopes to make his return to the cage in the future. Number 9. Lee Murray. Lightning Lee Murray, a man so dangerous police preferred not to confront him. Known to UFC President Dana White as a scary son of a bitch, not fighter-wise, Lee Murray enjoyed a fairly successful MMA career with a record of 8 wins and 2 losses before fleeing his home country of England after his part in the largest bank heist in British history. Abducting and threatening the family of a bank manager, Murray and several other men stole 53 million in banknotes before being arrested in Morocco and sentenced to life in prison. Number 8. Josh Grisby. Back in the days of the WEC, Josh the Fluke Grisby battled his way to number 1 contendership with 4 straight wins, including submission win over former UFC lightweight champion Jens Pulver. Grisby was scheduled to face Jose Aldo for the UFC featherweight title after WEC merged with the UFC, but Aldo pulled out with an injury and Grisby risked his number 1 spot and eventually lost to Dustin Poirier. After losing 4 straight fights, Grisby was released and took his anger out on his wife by allegedly beating and kicking her. He also trained his bull terrier to attack her and was ultimately arrested and given a 5.5-year sentence in June of this year. Number 7. Mike Whitehead. You remember Mike Whitehead? Yeah, probably not. Mike Whitehead is probably best remembered for his time on The Ultimate Fighter Season 2, where he was Matt Hughes' second pick. During episode 9, Whitehead put in such a lackluster performance against Rashad Evans that President Dana White stated that he'd never seen a fighter just stop fighting with 10 seconds left to go on the clock. In 2010, Whitehead was arrested and charged with sexually assaulting a female acquaintance in her home. The police also found 50 marijuana plants in his home, which were confiscated and destroyed. In 2012, he was sentenced to 1 to 4 years in prison before being released in 2015. Number 6. Hermes Franco. Hermes Franco enjoyed a very successful career in the cage, having won a WEC lightweight championship and challenging a dominant Sean Sherk for the UFC lightweight title at UFC 73. He beat the likes of Nate Diaz, Mike Brown and Jamie Varner during his career, but would later plead guilty to 1 count of unlawful penetration and sentenced to 42 months in state prison. Following his arrest, he was deported back to his homeland of Brazil and was welcomed back to the cage by Marcio Brento, who knocked him out in just 30 seconds into the first round. Number 5. Alexander Emelianenko. Known as the brother of possible GOAT Fedor Emelianenko and feared Pride competitor, Alexander Emelianenko was considered a gatekeeper of Pride's elite fighters, only losing to UFC champions like Fabricio Verdum and Josh Barnett and top Pride star Mirko Krokop. In May 2014, Emelianenko was accused of assaulting and raping his former housekeeper Polina Stepanova and was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. He was, however, released on bail in October 2016 and expects to fight again this year. Number 4. Jeremy Jackson. Jeremy Jackson is mostly known for being the only man to legitimately finish Nick Diaz, and it only took him 49 seconds after delivering some brutal strikes that rendered Diaz unable to defend himself. Jackson would later go on to lose his trilogy with Diaz and only had 2 fights inside the octagon. In 2008, Jackson was accused of breaking into his ex-girlfriend's home, threatening her with a firearm and sexually assaulting her. Unlike many on this list, Jackson didn't fight the charges, instead pleaded guilty and received 25 years for his crimes. Number 3. War Machine. when you legally change your name to War Machine, it might be time to reevaluate your life. With one win and one loss inside the UFC's octagon, John War Machine Copenhagen racked up a fairly decent 14-5 record competing in Bellator at the end of his career. But what brings him to this list is the high-profile case in which Copenhagen unmercifully assaulted his ex-girlfriend Christy Mack. He beat her up so badly she suffered 18 broken bones, a broken nose, missing teeth, fractured rib and a ruptured liver. In June of this year, he was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 36 years. Number 2. Jared Wyatt. It might be a bit strong to call Jared Wyatt an MMA fighter, because realistically, he only fought professionally once in a winning bid against Seth Stanfield at Brass Knuckle Promotions in 2010. It is, however, the label that the media ran with during the time of his trial. In March 2010, Wyatt was charged with the murder of his sparring partner and 21-year-old Taylor Powell. After taking a bunch of hallucinogens, Wyatt believed Powell to be possessed by the devil and proceeded to attack him and rip out his heart and his tongue. An autopsy showed the organs had been removed whilst Powell was still alive. Wyatt pled guilty and was sentenced to 50 years to life. And now it's time for some not so special mentions. Amar Sulawev. Amar Sulawev racked up an impressive 24 wins and only 7 losses in his mixed martial arts career. One of those losses came by unanimous decision at the hands of a prime Chuck Liddell at UFC 35. It was a back and forth stand-up battle that saw Sulawev take some seriously heavy shots from Liddell but kept battling on. What brings Sulawev to this list, however, were the accusations of his involvement in the murders of several Russian politicians. During his time on trial, Sulawev grew ill and was diagnosed with stomach cancer, which ultimately killed him before he could be prosecuted. Julian Wallace. Julian Wallace is probably best known for that viral video that sees him bullying Ben Wynn during a face-off for Nitro MMA 11, but gets knocked out in 30 seconds into the actual fight. Funny, yeah, but maybe only his second funniest KO loss. In a vicious assault on his then girlfriend and fellow MMA fighter Jess, Wallace threw kicks and punches at his girlfriend and ultimately got her in a chokehold. Losing consciousness, Jess somehow got out of it and head kicked Wallace that knocked him out cold. He was later arrested and pled guilty to assault. And number 1, Joe Sun. Known for taking the most horrific strikes in MMA history, Joe Sun's participation in mixed martial arts was more comedic than anything, and his 0-4 record really demonstrates that. But Sun actually enjoyed a fair amount of success outside the cage with a starring role in Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery and a string of other movies. That was until he was charged by authorities in connection to a gang rape in 1990 and is now on trial for murdering his cellmate. Hi guys, I'm Tom from MMA On Point, and thanks so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow us on Twitter at OnPointMMA, and you can follow me at Tom A. Ransom. Basically, this is just a little intro to say thanks for watching the video. There's going to be plenty of videos like this coming up on this channel as well. I'm starting this up with a friend of mine from the US, a guy called Jason. He's going to be doing just some tremendous analytical videos for you as well. We basically started this channel so that there would be more interactive media for the MMA fans out there, especially on YouTube, where we're going to be doing most of our content. But we've also started a Patreon as well. So, you know, if you do like this content and if you do really want to support us and help us make more of this content, then please visit our Patreon page and you know, support. And there's going to be plenty of tiers there. We're starting up a podcast, so there's lots of great things coming. But just, yeah, no, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, there's going to be more lists coming out. Jason's going to be performing some fantastic analytical videos that are going to be on the channel as well. But yeah, no, thanks again, and talk soon.